The Machiavellian law of love and admiration. Let me make that absolutely clear before I say anything else. She loved him deeply, fully, in that reckless, all-consuming way that keeps you up at night and makes the rest of the world feel like background noise. He was kind. He was loyal. He would have done anything for her, and she knew it. She felt it. Every single day. There was never a moment where she doubted his love. Not one. And she still left. Packed her things on a Tuesday afternoon while he was at work. Left a note on the kitchen counter. 3 sentences he'll spend the rest of his life trying to decode. I love you. I'll probably always love you. But I can't stay. 9 words. And hidden inside them is a confession that most men will never understand, because they've been taught that love is the highest currency in a relationship. That if you love her enough, she'll stay. Part 1. The beautiful lie. There is one sentence that has ruined more men than any bad advice in human history. All you need is love. It sounds true. It feels true. Every movie you've ever watched confirmed it. The guy who loves hardest wins. The guy who sacrifices most gets the girl. The guy who shows up with grand gestures and tearful confessions. He's the hero in the final scene. Then the credits roll, and you never see what happens in year 2, year 5, year 10. When the grand gestures have become routine, when the tearful confessions have lost their novelty, when relentless emotional availability has stopped feeling like devotion and started feeling like suffocation. You never see the part where she sits across from him at dinner, loved beyond measure, completely secure, totally safe, and utterly bored. Not bored with him specifically, bored with the feeling of having nothing left to discover, nothing left to earn, nothing left to wonder about. The mystery is solved. The book is read. The destination is reached. And now she's standing at the summit, looking around, thinking, this is it. Niccolò Machiavelli studied this exact dynamic, not in relationships, but in politics. And what he found didn't just explain why citizens abandoned kings. It explained every relationship you've ever watched fall apart despite both people being in love. Today I'm going to hand you that answer. And it's going to rewrite everything you think you know about what actually holds a woman. Part 2. What Machiavelli saw. Machiavelli made his most important observation not in The Prince, but in a lesser-known work called Florentine Histories. He was studying the Medici family, specifically trying to understand why certain Medici rulers held Florence's loyalty for decades, while others lost it within months. On paper, their reigns looked almost identical. Same policies, same taxes, same generosity, but the outcomes were radically different. What separated them? Machiavelli's answer comes through in his descriptions rather than his explicit arguments, which is typical of him when he's saying something dangerous. He describes the successful Medici as men who were admired before they were loved, and the failed Medici as men who were loved before they were admired. The sequence mattered. Admiration first, love second. That combination created a bond that could survive anything. Because even when passion fades, even when the daily grind wears down the romance, the respect remains. And respect alone is enough to hold a relationship through seasons when love goes quiet. But love without admiration, that's a house built on emotion. And emotion, as Machiavelli noted repeatedly, is the least reliable building material in human existence. So what was missing from that note on the kitchen counter? Not love. She had love. Plenty of it. What was missing was admiration. Not admiration for what he did for her. Admiration for the man he was apart from her. The man he'd be even if she'd never entered his life. That kind of admiration, independent of romance, independent of the relationship, is the one thing that makes a woman stay when love alone would have let her walk. Part 3. The anatomy of admiration. Admiration is not a response to a single quality. It's a response to a pattern, a consistent, observable pattern that the brain detects over time and converts into a judgment so deeply held it feels like instinct. That pattern has 3 components. Remove any one of them, and admiration collapses. First, evidence of struggle overcome. Machiavelli openly admired self-made men and held barely concealed contempt for those who inherited their position. Because a man who built something from nothing carries a specific energy. An energy that says, I have been tested, I have been broken, and I rebuilt myself with my own hands. Women respond to this the way plants respond to sunlight. Not consciously, automatically. This doesn't mean you need a tragic backstory. It means she needs to see evidence that you've engaged with difficulty and won. Second, visible standards that cost you something. Machiavelli noted that the leaders who commanded the deepest respect were not the ones who made everyone happy. They were the ones willing to make people unhappy in service of a higher standard. She watches to see what your standards cost you. Do you tolerate disrespect because confrontation feels too hard? Do you move your boundaries every time she pushes because maintaining them is uncomfortable? Compare that to a man who holds a boundary calmly, without drama, even when it costs him. That man generates admiration so dense it's almost physical, because she just witnessed something extraordinarily rare. A man whose principles aren't for sale. Third, continuous forward motion. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must never be idle, always building, strengthening, expanding, especially during peacetime, because the prince who rests during peace is the one who collapses during war. A woman's admiration for a man is not a fixed state. It's a living evaluation that updates constantly based on trajectory. The man who peaked 3 years ago and has been coasting, her admiration is fading. The man who is visibly, relentlessly, hungrily climbing, her admiration grows every single day because she's not just evaluating where he is. She's evaluating his velocity. Part 4. How it feels from her side. I want you to understand something that may be uncomfortable, because until you feel what she feels, you'll keep making the same mistake every loving, devoted, well-intentioned man makes. When a woman loves a man she doesn't admire, she experiences a very specific kind of suffering, one she will almost never describe accurately. It feels like gratitude mixed with suffocation. She's grateful for his love, genuinely. She knows he's good. She knows he's loyal. She knows she should want this. And she feels nothing. No, that's not quite right. She feels a low-grade, persistent guilt, because she knows his love deserves more than her lukewarm response. And she hates herself for the gap between what he gives and what she feels. So she tries harder. She performs enthusiasm she doesn't feel. She initiates affection that doesn't come naturally. But underneath the performance, something is screaming. I need to feel something for this man that makes me forget I'm choosing to stay. Something that makes staying feel inevitable, not decided. That something is admiration. Its absence is a void that no amount of love can fill. She can love him and feel empty. She cannot admire him and feel empty. Part 5. The 5 Admiration Killers. Most men are actively, daily, unknowingly dismantling the one thing that holds their relationship together, and doing it in the name of love. 1. When your mood depends on her mood, when her approval is required for you to feel good about yourself, admiration dies. She cannot look up to a man who is emotionally beneath her. 2. The moment you stop pushing yourself, when your biggest daily challenge is deciding what to order for dinner, her admiration begins its decline. Her internal audit system says, this man has stopped moving. 3. Every time you minimize yourself, preface opinions with I might be wrong, shrink in the presence of someone more successful, you're building a portrait of a man who doesn't believe in his own legitimacy. She can only see in you what you see in yourself first. 4. There's a specific kind of man who makes devotion his whole identity. His plans revolve around her. His attention orbits her. Devotion without direction is just orbiting. And nobody admires a satellite. They admire what the satellite orbits. 5. This one masquerades as love. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to upset her. Every avoided conflict is a deposit in the bank of her contempt. She wanted to see that you have something inside you worth fighting for. Machiavelli wrote that a prince who avoids all conflict doesn't create peace. He creates a vacuum. And that vacuum gets filled by her, slowly, reluctantly, exhaustingly, becoming the strong one by default. A woman forced into being the strong one is a woman whose admiration for her partner is already dead. Part 6. How to build admiration that lasts. Machiavelli was not only a diagnostician, he was an architect, and his principles translate directly. Let her witness your fight, not just your victory. Most men hide their struggle. They think she wants the finished product. What she actually wants to see is the process, the discipline that held when motivation died. When she sees you get knocked down and get back up, without complaint, something inside her locks into place. Maintain the parts of you she didn't create. When men enter relationships, they absorb. Hobbies fade. Friendships thin. Keep the things that made you interesting before she arrived. The sport, the craft, the intellectual pursuit. These are the edges that made you dimensional. And dimension is what admiration feeds on. Make decisions she doesn't expect. Predictability is admiration's slow poison. Surprise her, not with gifts, but with choices. Take a direction she didn't anticipate. Be the man whose logic she's always trying to decode. And hold the line when holding it costs everything. There will come a moment where maintaining your standard means risking the relationship itself. In that moment, hold. Accept the consequences. Because the man who abandons himself to keep her is a man she can never admire. She left a note on the kitchen counter. 3 sentences. I love you. I'll probably always love you. But I can't stay. Now you know what was missing. Not love. She had love. Plenty of it. What was missing was the thing beneath love. Machiavelli understood, 5 centuries ago, that people don't follow leaders they merely like. They follow leaders they respect so deeply that following feels less like a choice and more like gravity. Don't give her a man to love. Give her a man to admire. Build yourself into someone so relentlessly committed to growth and so unshakably rooted in principle that loving you and admiring you become the same act. When those two things merge, she doesn't stay because she should. She stays because she can't imagine a version of her life that makes sense without you in it. Machiavelli's observation was brutal, but brutality in service of truth is the kindest thing anyone can offer you.